Assalamu alaikum students. I'm your English literature teacher here. Today we will read our second chapter, chapter 9, Helen Keller Learns to Speak. In the last class, we have seen that Helen Keller was a very famous lady and she was an American writer and speaker. And she was also blind and deaf. When she was a kid, she became sick and that sickness left her both blind and deaf. After that, she learned some very simple signs to communicate with other people. And when she was 7 years old, that time, she met with her teacher, Annie Sullivan, who taught her some uh, signs or who wrote the words on her hands to communicate. Today we will see how Helen Keller learned other things to read and to write and to communicate with other people. The next important step was learning to read. As soon as I could spell a few words, my teacher gave me slips of cardboard. On those were printed words in raised letters. I quickly learned what each printed word stood for. Okay, so here Miss Sullivan, the teacher of Helen Keller, she did a trick to Helen Keller, and that was she gave some slips of cardboard. We have learned what is cardboard, right? It's a thick paper which is that paper is very thick and it's difficult to bend. So Miss Sullivan gave those cardboard, and on that cardboard there were printed words but in raised letter. That means when you touch the cardboard, that time you can feel the words. So like that, Helen Keller learned some printed words. When she touched those words, she could understand, okay, which words stood for what thing. I then had to find the slips of cardboard and place them on the right object. For example, the words doll and bed. Then I had to put my doll on the bed with the words is, on, and bed placed beside the doll. Thus I made a sentence with the words. After that, Helen Keller learned to make sentences. That is, suppose she said, for example, the words doll and bed. So she put her doll on the bed and she put the slips of cardboard is on bed beside the doll. So she made a sentence, the doll is on the bed. Like this, she learned how to make sentences. Look at this picture. This is a word blush and it is written on a cardboard. When you touch the word blush, you can feel each letters B-L-U-S-H. So Miss Sullivan gave this type of cardboard to Helen, and Helen touched these words and she understood which is the word, which was the word. I soon moved on to reading printed books in raised type or braille. I always searched for the words I knew. I could not speak because I could not hear, and so I would sit on my mother's lap all day long and feel the movements of her lips. I had forgotten what talking was, and I made many sounds. But there was one word I remembered from when I was a child, water. I pronounced it at it wa wa. Okay, so uh, after that, Helen Keller learned to read, and we all know that she was blind. Now you are thinking, as she was a blind person, so how did she read? Okay, for blind person, there is a special book, and that is called Braille. And Helen Keller learned to read with the help of Braille books, and she always searched for the words she knew in the book. I could not speak because I could not hear, and so I would sit on my mother's lap all day long and feel the movements of her lips. So Helen Keller could not hear, could not talk. That's why she sat on her mother's lap all the day, and she touched her mother's lips to understand what her mother was saying. And as she could not talk, so she made different kinds of sound. And when she was child, she pronounced water as wah wah. We all know that she could not talk, so she could not pronounce the water like us clearly. She pronounced it as wah wah. Okay, so here you can see two pictures. On the left side, you can see a picture with some dots. This is actually the book for blind people. This is called Braille books. Blind people cannot see the letters or the words or the sentences. So they touched these dots with their fingers and they can understand what is written in the book. Look at the right side, the picture at the right side. You can see that there are the letters and the digits, and on that letters and the digits there are some dots. So these are the alphabets, Braille alphabets and numbers. So in the Braille books, the sentence or everything is written with these dots, and these dots, when you touch the dots, you can feel it. So blind people learn to read like this. Later I had lessons from Miss Fuller. I shall never forget the surprise and delight I felt when I spoke my first whole sentence. It was warm. True, they were broken and stammering sounds, but they were human speech. Okay, later, Miss Helen Keller met with Miss Fuller. She was also a teacher of Miss Helen Keller, and after that, when she met Miss Fuller, that time she learned to talk, though, but could not talk like us. She could not talk clearly. She talked like she said a sentence. It was warm. But those were stammering sounds. Stammering sounds mean words not fully spoken or spoken with difficulty. She said is warm, but she said it like this. It is not clearly. So, but she was happy. She was very surprised, and she was very delighted when she spoke the first sentence. So this is how Helen Keller learned to read and speak, and she became a very great lady because she was an author also. She wrote different types of books, and the story we have just finished, it is a part of her book, The Story of My Life. So this is it for today, students. I hope this story is a very inspirational story for us. She was a blind person. She could not talk. She could not listen. Among all these difficulties, she achieved success in her life. So we should follow her, right? So thank you, everyone.